Hey, dear Cancer, this is your March 2021 horoscope. I am your astrologer, Jamie Dawn, and let's get right to it, as I believe March is going to prove to be a pretty good month for you, especially when we're working with the eighth house, as you have been with all the Aquarian energy there. But the sun is now in Pisces, trining your sun. So there's this extra ease and grace that's blessing your life. And hopefully you're finding that there's some financial rewards, some emotional security, those things that really feed your soul that is showing up for you. Now, let's talk about some of the movement in the cosmos that may be influencing you in different areas of your life. So we've got Mars, which is been in the sign of Taurus since January 6th, is now moving into Gemini on the 3rd of this month. We also, of course, have Mercury direct. Yay. I know you're celebrating that. I'm sure it's been a little trickster for you, just like it has been for most everybody. And we also have a new moon in Pisces on the 12th in your 9th house. So we're going to talk about that energy of higher education, philosophy, giving greater meaning and purpose to what you're wanting to do. And then we also have Mercury moving into Pisces on March 15th. So it will, that planet of communication and connection will be sitting there blessing your 9th house. And we also have the sun moving into Aries on the spring equinox on the 20th with Venus. So the sun and Venus are going to move together into Aries. And then our full moon in Libra at the end of the month on the 28th in your 4th house of home and your natural placement in the zodiacal wheel. So let's get right to it, starting with now Mercury being direct in Aquarius in that 8th house. Hopefully you will have already started to receive some positive news with your joint resources. Maybe there's been a partnership, whether it's personal or professional, that is starting to solidify in a greater way, wanting to bring more value and more intimacy into your life. Now, granted, intimacy is not necessarily sex. That has been a misinterpretation with the 8th house, because really sex belongs in that 5th house. It's not to say that it isn't appropriate in the 8th, but when we're talking about intimacy, we're really talking about vulnerability and trust. Sex is just the expression of that very often in a romantic notion. But it also, intimacy can apply to your professional partnerships and even in your group dynamics, because here we are working with Aquarius in that 8th house. And so being able to feel as though you are really truly belonging, and that there's a real depth and a real psychological safety that has shown up for you in your group settings or in the way you interact with others, especially if you are exchanging ideas and we're looking at maybe signing documents, especially if you held off in February because of Mercury being retrograde. Now's a great month to start signing loan papers or selling that house and buying the new one. You know, this exchange of income, but it's more of resources that benefit you, that you can also then create a great home and a great security for yourself and your loved ones. There's also going to be quite a bit of wonderful energy, like I say, with the sun in Pisces, energizing your 9th house, where now that this money is hopefully flowing in for you, or at least you're feeling like you're in this really strong bond with the things that and people that mean the most to you, now you can really get into the more philosophical side of things, of like, you know, why do we do what we do, and start to express that out into the world with a greater reach. So maybe you felt a little reclusive in February. Here comes March, and especially with the spring equinox and when the sun moves into Aries in your 10th house, you're going to be ready to push your ideas and ready to be seen in the public, and maybe even expand, like I say, your audience in a way that gives you a far greater reach, because you have the resources in which you can be generous and you can bless others. The other thing about this Pisces energy, and we'll talk about this new moon, and with Mercury moving into Pisces shortly after the new moon. So the new moon on the 12th will have the sun and the moon in Pisces in this ninth house. What it can do for you, give you great faith, great hope in a brighter future. And that may show up through finances. It may show up through you and your partner talking about where you want to go in life, this bigger vision that you have. And now you have these resources to support that. The other thing that may show up, especially for single Cancers, is that you may suddenly set your sights on a particular goal, and you have a lot of hope and a lot of faith that it's finally going to have traction. You may have set goals at the beginning of the year, and you question whether you're actually going to be able to achieve them because there's been obstacles in the way. I mean, we did have Saturn and Uranus squaring off with each other in February, and we had Mercury and Jupiter canoodling. And so there was some really big energy. Those are just two examples of how February could have presented some obstacles that discouraged you, maybe gave you some sort of news that you're like, I don't have a solution for this. I don't know how I'm going to resolve it. And now here comes March, should give you some solutions. And again, when you get those helps, the support from others, from the universe, it can give you great hope that you can actually manifest the hope and desires that you have. The other great thing that I love about this month for you, Cancer, is that you'll have the opportunity to be of great service. This Piscean energy activates this desire, especially with the sun there, and now with the moon. You can set these intentions to say, I have all these wonderful things. I have hope and faith. How do I inspire and share and be generous with others in a way that is of great benefit, great service? And so when you put those intentions out there, remember that the universe will line up with you and rise up to meet you. And believe me, I jokingly say, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. Ha ha. Well, guess what? When you get it, I have no doubt that you'll know exactly what to do, because you'll just nurture the hell out of whatever shows up. Most likely, you will lavish it with love, and you'll want to make sure that the other person or situation feels secure, because that's important for you. Now, let's talk about this full moon in Libra at the end of the month, as that also is going to be active. And with this full moon, it's coming, slightly a week after the sun and Venus have moved into Aries. So here you are, you've traded in when Venus is in Pisces, she's the Betty Garbo. She's got this beautiful air to her, maybe even willing to give away the reality because the fantasy is so much better. Well, here comes Venus in Aries, and it's almost like reality becomes this game that she gets to play, and she's going to put on her stilettos, get her fast car, maybe that convertible. I just have this picture also of like Thelma and Louise, where I know you're not going to drive off a cliff, but you may be like, come on, we got this, and you just go for it. That adventurous side to you. So here comes this full moon in Libra, and you may be willing to take greater risk and greater opportunities to go, it's spring. I'm ready. I've got so much energy now. I'm just going to take a chance. Take a chance in love. Take a chance in, doing something different out of your routine, out of your comfort zone that you wouldn't normally do. And I can tell you that in doing so, you're going to free up all this space in your life. And before you run too quickly to fill it back up, let it just be there. Just notice what the universe brings to you versus you having to go and get it. And I will say that Cancer, if there is a relationship, because we're working with Libra, if there's a relationship that just hasn't felt right, or that you've been a little too long suffering, you've held on to a little too long, maybe it's just the idea or expectation with another person that you care deeply for. If that has shown up for you, you may be ready to finally let it go. Take that risk. let it go and see how that person meets you or not. You'll have your answer. There's no way, not to. One other thing I will mention with March, like I say, we've got Mercury moving out of Aquarius and into Pisces middle of the month. And so you can find ways, if you have to transition into a new relationship, into a transition out of an old one, that Mercury in Pisces can bless you with great healing and great compassion with your words. I would even venture to say that Cancer, if you're looking at starting work or maybe education around, say, psychology or mental health or speaking, anything of the, writing, anything of that nature, with Mercury in your ninth house, is very blessed for you to be able to use that time to heal and to gather information and maybe teach or share with others from a healing capacity. So all of this gets interwoven this month for you. And I will say that I feel, even though, of course, life will always throw its curveballs and have its challenges, especially because we're still working with all this Aquarian energy where anything goes. But for the most part, I would say March should be a month that you can count your blessings more than the obstacles. And here's the thing, when the obstacles or challenges show up, you'll have what you need to meet it. Don't forget your hope, don't forget your faith, and don't forget that you are loved. All right, Cancer, I really hope that this video helps. I'd love for you to like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know how it goes. Of course, find me at jamiedawn.com. Have a great month, Cancer.